You can love someone with every single cell in your body and still be absolutely miserable every day of your life. Most of us grew up watching movies where the guy and the girl have a huge fight, someone runs through an airport, they share one big kiss, and then the screen fades to black with the words "happily ever after." We're taught from the time we are kids that love is a magic spell that fixes everything. We think that if the spark is strong enough, it can burn through any problem, any lie, or any mistake. But that is exactly why so many people are stuck in relationships that make them feel lonely, tired, and broken. I want to talk about the things nobody tells you because they're too busy selling you heart-shaped chocolates. We need to have a real talk about why love is just the entry fee to a relationship, not the thing that keeps it running. If you have ever felt like you were drowning, even though you love the person standing on the shore, this is for you. We are going to break down why staying for love alone might be the biggest mistake you ever make. By the end of this, you will see exactly what you've been missing and how to know if your relationship is actually worth saving or if you're just chasing a ghost. We often mistake chemistry for compatibility. You know that feeling when you first meet someone and your heart beats fast and you can't stop thinking about them? That is chemistry. It is a chemical soup in your brain that makes you feel high. It is great, but it is also a bit of a liar. Chemistry doesn't care if you both want the same things in life. It doesn't care if one of you wants to live in a city and the other wants to live on a farm. It doesn't care if one of you wants 5 kids and the other wants 0. When we rely only on that spark, we overlook red flags that are staring us right in the face. You might love the way they laugh or the way they look at you, but if they don't respect your time or your feelings, that spark is eventually going to burn you. Chemistry is like the engine of a car, but compatibility is the steering wheel. You can have a very fast engine, but if you can't steer the car, you are eventually going to hit a wall. Most people stay in bad situations because they think the engine is still running, even though the car is headed straight for a cliff.
You cannot have a healthy relationship without respect, even if you have all the love in the world. Think about it this way. Imagine you have a beautiful garden. You love the flowers, you love the smell, and you love sitting there. But every day, you walk all over the flowers and crush them. Do you really love that garden? No. You just like the way it makes you feel while you destroy it. In a relationship, respect looks like listening when someone speaks, valuing their opinion, even when you disagree, and never trying to make them feel small. When respect disappears, love becomes a cage. You start to feel like you have to hide parts of yourself just to keep the peace. You stop sharing your dreams because you are afraid they will laugh at you. You stop saying how you feel because you don't want to start another fight. If you love someone, but they constantly put you down or make you feel like you aren't good enough, that isn't a relationship. That is a hostage situation. Love should make you feel bigger and braver, not smaller and scared. If the respect is gone, the love is just a thin coat of paint on a house that is rotting from the inside.
One of the most dangerous things we do is fall in love with someone's potential instead of who they actually are. We look at someone and think, they have such a good heart. If only they stopped lying, or if only they worked harder, or if only they treated me better, everything would be perfect. We treat people like DIY projects. We think that if we just love them enough, they will finally change and become the person we want them to be. This is a trap that keeps people stuck for years. The truth is, you cannot love someone into changing. People only change when they decide they want to, not because you are being a perfect partner. When you stay with someone because of who they could be, you are not actually in love with them. You are in love with a fantasy character you made up in your head. Meanwhile, the real person is standing right in front of you, showing you exactly who they are through their actions. If you find yourself constantly waiting for a future version of your partner to show up, you are wasting your life in a waiting room that might never open.
You can love someone who has a completely different view of the world than you do, but it is going to be a very bumpy ride. Values are the big things, like how you handle money, how you want to raise a family, what honesty means to you, and what your goals are. If you value growth and learning, but your partner is happy staying exactly where they are forever, you are going to feel held back. If you value saving for the future, but your partner spends every cent the moment they get it, you are going to feel stressed every single day. Love doesn't pay the bills, and it doesn't decide whose parents you visit for the holidays. These are the practical parts of life that actually make up 90% of a relationship. When your values don't line up, you will find yourself arguing about the same things over and over again for 10 years. You might love them during the fight, and you might love them after the fight, but the fight will never go away because you are fundamentally different people moving in different directions. Love is the fuel, but values are the map. If you are following two different maps, you will never end up at the same destination. We always hear that communication is key, but most people don't actually know what that means. It isn't just about talking, it is about understanding. You can talk until your voice is gone, but if your partner isn't truly listening, or if they're just waiting for their turn to speak, nothing is getting solved. In a healthy relationship, you should be able to say, "This hurt my feelings," and your partner should be able to hear that without getting angry or defensive. When love is the only thing holding you together, communication often turns into a weapon. You use your knowledge of the other person to hurt them during arguments. Or maybe you stop communicating altogether because you think, "They should just know why I'm upset if they love me." That is a huge mistake. No one can read your mind. If you find yourself trapped in a cycle where every conversation turns into a battle or a cold shoulder, love isn't going to fix that. It takes a conscious effort to be humble, to apologize, and to actually change your behavior. Without those skills, love is just a witness to a slow-motion car crash.
There's usually a specific moment when the realization hits you. It's not always a big explosion or a huge betrayal. Sometimes it is just a quiet Tuesday afternoon when you look at your partner across the room and realize that you are lonely even when they are right there. You realize that you've been holding on to the memory of who they used to be or the hope of who they might become rather than the reality of who they are right now. This is the climax of the struggle. It is the moment you stop fighting the other person and start fighting for yourself. It is a terrifying moment because it means admitting that love failed. But did it really fail? Or did it just do its job? Love is meant to bring us together, but it isn't meant to keep us in a burning building. Admitting that love isn't enough isn't a sign of weakness. It is a sign of maturity. It means you finally understand that you deserve a life that feels good, not just a relationship that looks good on paper or feels good for 5 minutes a week. When you reach this point, the question isn't whether you love them anymore. The question is whether you love yourself enough to leave. We are often told that leaving someone you love is selfish. We are told to stick it out and fight for love. But how can you fight for something that is killing your spirit? If staying in a relationship means you have to lose your joy, your confidence, and your peace of mind, then the price of that love is too high. Choosing to walk away from a relationship that isn't working, even if you still have feelings for the person, is one of the bravest things you can do. It is an act of self-respect. Walking away doesn't mean you never loved them. It doesn't mean the time you spent together was a waste. It just means that you have learned a very important lesson. You cannot build a healthy life on a foundation of just feelings. You need a partner, not just a lover. You need a teammate, not just a roommate. When you choose yourself, you open up the possibility of finding a relationship where love is just the beginning, and respect, shared goals, and real support are the things that actually keep you going. Moving on is hard because love doesn't just switch off like a light bulb. You might feel guilty, or you might keep checking your phone, hoping they will call and say all the right things. But you have to remember why you reached this conclusion in the first place. You have to remember the lonely nights and the arguments that went nowhere.
Love will try to trick you into going back. It will make you remember the good times and ignore the bad ones. That is why you have to use your head, not just your heart. A relationship is like a house. Love is the beautiful furniture and the decorations, but the structure of the house, the walls, the roof, the foundation, that is the trust, the respect, and the shared values. You can have the most expensive furniture in the world, but if the roof is leaking and the walls are falling down, you cannot live there. It is okay to mourn the loss of the furniture, but you have to move to a house that is actually safe to live in. You are worth more than a pretty house that is falling apart.
So if you are sitting there wondering if your love is enough to save what you have, I want you to look at the facts. Look at the way you are treated every day. Look at whether you can actually talk to your partner. Look at whether you are both walking in the same direction. If those things are missing, love isn't going to magically bring them back. It is okay to let go. It is okay to admit that as much as you love someone, they are just not the right person for you. True connection isn't about two people who can't live without each other. It is about two people who are whole on their own and choose to build a life together because they make each other better. Love is a beautiful, wonderful thing, but it needs a lot of help to survive the real world. Don't be afraid to demand more than just a feeling. You deserve a love that is backed up by action, respect, and a shared vision for the future. Please subscribe to my channel Rainwish if you want to see more videos about building a better life and better relationships. Goodbye.